sometimes, the most compelling insights, they aren't really found in those lengthy reports or academic papers. They're in the raw, unfiltered accounts of real life.
Yeah, those moments where ordinary people find themselves facing just extraordinary, often terrifying situations.
Exactly. So today, we're going to step a little off our usual path. We're going to tell you some powerful stories.
And these aren't made up, right? These are true experiences.
That's right. Real, unsettling experiences shared by people who, found themselves confronting the strange, the dangerous, and sometimes the truly horrifying.
So our goal today is really to explore these chilling realities, understand the unexpected turns life can take.
And also, I think, uncover the profound impact these encounters leave. We'll look at the incredible resilience, the quick thinking, and sometimes just sheer luck involved in survival.
It's a compelling look at maybe the hidden depths of how we respond to extreme threat.
Okay, so let's start. Our first story, it takes us to a moment that I think many of us can relate to. A young woman, she's 22, just moved into her very first apartment, embracing that new independence.
Right, that feeling.
This was about a year and a half ago, a regular summer evening. She's on the phone with her boyfriend, just casually opening some mail, and bam, her phone slips.
Oh, happens all the time.
Right. It tumbles to the floor and slides right under her bed.
Okay.
So naturally, she kneels down, reaching, stretching under there, probably expecting, dust bunnies and her phone.
Yeah, the usual suspects under a bed.
But as her eyes adjust to the shadows, they catch something else, something completely different.
Uh-oh.
There was someone under her bed, a human form, lying perfectly still, back towards her, head tucked tightly to its chest.
Oh my God.
She couldn't see their face, and crucially, it seems they didn't see her. That immediate, primal urge to scream just choked in her throat.
I can only imagine.
Her mind must have been racing, just a million terrifying possibilities flashing. Yet, in that absolute moment of terror, this incredible presence of mind just took over.
Really? What did she do?
She picks up the phone, her voice somehow steady, you hope, despite her heart just hammering, and says, "Sorry, I dropped my phone. I'm just going to take a shower and call you back."
Yeah, okay.
The bathroom was right there by her bed. She walks in, quietly locks the door, and then, this is amazing, she turns on the shower.
To mask the sound.
Exactly. Letting the rush of water cover any other noise. Then she takes this leap of faith, literally jumps out her first floor window.
Smart thinking. The first floor.
Definitely. Heart pounding, she makes that desperate call to the police and just waits across the street, watching, praying for anyone to come out of that apartment.
That is, wow. What's truly remarkable there is not just her composure, but that immediate calculated flight response under extreme duress.
Sure.
Psychologically, we often talk about the fight, flight, freeze, or fawn responses to threat, right? In this case, it feels like her brain's prefrontal cortex, the part responsible for executive function, rational thought. It seemed to override the more primal amygdala.
So it wasn't just panic or pure instinct, it was like actual decision-making.
It seems like it, precisely.
Yep.
That kind of calm, strategic thinking in such a terrifying situation, it's a testament to adaptive responses. Instead of freezing or confronting who knows what, an unknown, maybe armed person, she immediately went for a controlled, quiet escape.
That makes sense.
It's a highly effective, though terrifying, form of rapid problem solving under immense pressure. It really speaks to an incredible capacity to manage fear and actually execute a plan, even when facing a profound threat to your safety.
That's truly fascinating how the mind can just switch gears like that. And this capacity for, quiet heroism and protection, it often shows up in the most unexpected ways. Our next story takes us back a bit to the mid-90s. It's seen through the eyes of an 11-year-old girl. She had this beloved, regular babysitter named Jane.
Okay.
Jane was like a best friend, always there on weekends. Her own family struggled financially, so she'd often prioritize babysitting over, typical teenage stuff.
Right, earning money.
Then, one Saturday, Jane couldn't come. It was her very first prom, invited by a boy she'd apparently crushed on for years. The narrator and her mom, they were genuinely excited for Jane, even gave her some extra cash for the big night.
That's sweet.
So they needed a new sitter. They found this girl, Becky, through word of mouth, lived down the street from Jane. Becky was vetted, seemed fine, but when she called, she asked some subtly strange questions about the narrator.
Like what?
Like how tall I was, what I look like, things like that. The narrator's mom even commented, wow, she sure is thorough.
Maybe a bit too thorough.
Right. So a few days before Becky was supposed to come, the narrator begged her mom to call Jane. She just really wanted to see Jane in her prom dress. Jane said yes, told her to come around 5:30, but then the narrator innocently says it won't be my mom picking me up, it'll be Becky. And apparently there was just dead silence on the line.
Oh,
Then Jane just abruptly ended the call.
that's weird.
Very weird. The very next day, Jane calls and cancels her prom. She claims her date didn't want to take her anymore.
Oh, that's heartbreaking for her.
Yeah, seems like it. And then she offers to babysit the narrator instead. Of course, the narrator, thinking Jane's just being kind after this supposed heartbreak, happily chose Jane.
Well, yeah, of course.
They had tons of fun that night, playing dress up, doing hair, taking Polaroids, like the best night an 11-year-old could imagine.
Yeah.
Stayed in touch for a while, but you know how it goes. Eventually lost contact.
Life happens.
Okay, so this is where the story jumps forward. Years later, the narrator, now an adult, runs into Jane at a bar. And Jane, well, she was very drunk, thin, had what looked like track marks on her arms.
Oh, no. That's rough.
Yeah, truly heartbreaking to see. As they're reminiscing, the narrator innocently brings up that dirtbag who supposedly stood Jane up from prom, remembering their own fun prom night together.
Right.
And then Jane just drops this devastating truth. She says, her voice apparently heavy with years of unspoken pain, "He didn't stand me up, the replacement babysitter." She was a sick individual.
Oh, my God, Becky.
Becky. Jane then revealed this horrifying truth she'd repressed for years. When Jane was little, Becky had beaten her, sexually abused her, threatened her, locked her in closets.
This is awful.
Then Becky would invite her boyfriend over and he'd do the same things to Jane. Becky took photos, threatened to kill Jane's family, send her to an orphanage if she ever told anyone.
Unbelievable cruelty.
Jane confessed she deeply regretted not speaking out sooner, saying the memory had only recently returned to her, just in its full, painful clarity. The narrator was just left with this overwhelming realization of Jane's incredible sacrifice. Giving up her own prom. And then countless weekends after that, insisting on babysitting to protect the narrator from Becky. Staying every single weekend until the narrator was old enough not to need a babysitter anymore. Jane had literally been her guardian angel.
Wow. That narrative it's just a stark, poignant look at the insidious nature of repressed trauma. But it also highlights these profound, selfless acts that can emerge from a place of deep protective instinct.
Yeah.
Jane, even as a young kid herself, carried this unbearable burden and made an extraordinary sacrifice. Giving up her own youth, her safety, in a way that's, well, it's hard to even imagine.
It really is hard to fathom that level of selflessness, especially from someone so young. What does this tell us about the hidden battles some people fight? Not just for themselves, but for others.
Well, it reveals the incredible strength of character and empathy that can exist, even, in the face of deep personal pain. Repressed trauma, it's a complex psychological defense mechanism. The mind pushes away unbearable memories just to allow for functioning. For Jane, that trauma eventually returned, but it doesn't diminish her earlier actions. Her immediate reaction on the phone to the name Becky, and then her dedication to protecting the narrator. It speaks volumes about an intrinsic, almost primal need to shield someone vulnerable, even at great personal cost.
It's a powerful reminder, isn't it, that sometimes the biggest heroes carry their burdens in complete silence.
Absolutely.
Okay, so that's a story about protection, but sometimes the instinct isn't to protect others, it's just a desperate, furious fight for your own survival.
The fight response.
Exactly. For our third story, we're going to the fall of 1993. A 20-year-old woman working the night shift at a plastic factory. She described herself as physically strong, in the best shape of her life, and significantly, she'd just gotten out of an abusive relationship.
That context might be important.
Maybe, perhaps that experience had unknowingly given her an edge she was about to need. So she's driving home around 2 a.m. after work. Deserted roads, small city. She notices a light green car start following her.
Okay, that's never good.
No. And she admits she made a crucial mistake. She pulled into a gas station. She knew, even thinking back later, she should have called the police right then.
Yeah, probably. Hindsight.
But in that moment, just as she was about to pull away, a woman from that green car suddenly jumps into her passenger seat.
What? Just jumps in.
Just opens the door and gets in. The woman immediately starts cackling, bouncing up and down, shouting aggressive, demeaning threats, telling the narrator that her boys were coming to hurt her.
This is terrifying.
And she starts rummaging around the glove box like she's looking for something, all while detailing these horrifying things they plan to do. The narrator's mind is racing, but instead of fear taking over completely, something else surfaces. She said she just got really, really furious.
Anger. Interesting.
Yeah, that surge of anger led to a pretty shocking turn of events. The narrator just screamed, a desperate, aggressive defense. Get out! Get the fuck out of my car before I cut your face and make you eat it, bitch!
Whoa.
Apparently the woman was startled by the sheer volume, the ferocity of the screaming, and maybe the mention of cutting this one. The narrator carried a box cutter for work. The woman instinctively grabbed the door handle, popped the door open,
And open.
and the narrator seized it, shoving, punching with all her might until the woman tumbled out of the car onto the curb.
Good for her.
She slammed on the gas, squealing around the next turn, passenger door still hanging open, made a few more turns, terrified the green car might catch up. After a bit, she stopped, slammed the door shut, cut across town, got onto the highway home.
Adrenaline must have been pumping.
Totally. About 5 minutes on the highway, she said, the shaking started. Just intense, uncontrollable shaking, had to pull over to calm down. When she finally got home, told her older sister everything. Her sister hugged her tight, but also kind of yelled at her for not calling the police.
Understandable reaction from the sister.
Yeah, but the narrator said she'd never been so glad to be yelled at in her life.
I bet. That account, it vividly illustrates that raw fight response in a life-threatening situation. Unlike the first story, which was more strategic flight, this is immediate aggressive defense.
Right. Totally different reaction.
That sudden surge of adrenaline, fueled by profound anger rather than paralyzing fear, it seemed to unlock an unforeseen strength and resolve in her.
It's incredible, isn't it, how anger, which we often see as negative, can become such a powerful survival tool in that kind of moment.
Absolutely. In the face of an immediate, overwhelming threat, emotions like anger can be incredibly adaptive. They can sort of short-circuit the fear response and channel energy into aggressive action needed for survival.
Like a switch flips.
Exactly. It's a primal mechanism. It can allow people to push past what they thought were their physical limits and defend themselves with unexpected force. It really speaks to the diverse ways the human body and mind react when pushed to the absolute edge.
Okay, so from these individual acts of defense and survival, we transport you somewhere truly grim, historically grim.
We're going.
Ukraine, 1932, during the Holodomor.
Ah, the famine. Terrible period.
Terrible is an understatement. A man-made famine, a horrific act, later recognized as a genocide by the Soviet Union. Millions perished. And as you might expect, during such unimaginable starvation, the very fabric of society it unraveled.
Leading to desperate, horrific realities.
Including widespread cannibalism. It wasn't unheard of for families to make just unspeakable choices to survive.
Just to stay alive. Unimaginable.
And even after the famine officially subsided, food remained incredibly scarce. So, fast forward slightly to 1936. The narrator's great-grandmother, she's 19 years old and pregnant, and she finds herself desperately craving fresh vegetables.
A pregnancy craving in that environment.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, a craving she just couldn't ignore amidst the ongoing scarcity. She's trekking up and down streets, no luck, until a small boy, about 8 years old, approaches her. And she remembered he had unusually full cheeks.
Sounds ominous, given the context.
Yeah.
Right. A stark, unsettling contrast to the gaunt faces common then. The boy, with this unnerving grin, claims he knows just the place to find vegetables.
And she believed him.
Well, he gave her directions to a hovel a few blocks down. She was wary, sure, but that desperate craving, it outweighed her apprehension. As she approached, she immediately noticed it smelt like slaughter.
Oh, that can't be good.
She tried to rationalize it. Maybe they just had a lot of food. Maybe she'd strike gold. Or maybe they'd just take sympathy on a pregnant woman. She pushed aside the curtain that was acting as a door and quietly called out, "Hello." 3 terrifying things happened almost simultaneously.
Okay.
A man holding a wooden plank raised above his head was coming directly towards her. At the same instant, her eyes caught sight of something just unspeakable. A human head lying on a table.
Oh my God. No.
She screamed. Just as terrifyingly, a woman in the corner shouted, "Stop!" The woman looked the great-grandmother over, her gaze frowning at her pregnant stomach. Then the woman stated, with this chilling clarity, "The boy knows we have standards. We don't kill pregnant women. Go. Leave. Do not repeat what you saw. We can change our minds."
Standards in that situation.
Unbelievable, right? The great-grandmother didn't need telling twice. She fled. Eventually, years later, she came to America, built a new life, far, far removed from the horrors she'd witnessed, and somehow survived.
That That chilling account offers just a stark window into the unimaginable extremes human beings were driven to during the Holodomor. It illustrates the complete breakdown of societal norms, a state sociologists sometimes call anomie, where rules and moral constraints just vanish under extreme duress.
Yeah, breakdown seems like an understatement.
And the concept of standards, not killing pregnant women, emerging within such horrific acts of survival, it's particularly haunting.
It really is. It speaks to this twisted, almost incomprehensible set of rules that can emerge when humanity is pushed to its absolute breaking point. What does it even say about human nature, or maybe the fragility of society, that such a standard could exist amidst that level of depravity?
Well, it reveals the terrifying adaptability of the human psyche, perhaps, and how even in the darkest corners of desperation, certain lines, however warped they might seem, might still be drawn. It's a grim testament to both the depths of human depravity under extreme conditions and maybe, paradoxically, the lingering echoes of moral frameworks even when they're utterly distorted. This narrative really highlights how quickly that veneer of civilization can just strip away, exposing the raw, desperate struggle for survival and the shocking choices made within that fight. It forces us to ask, what truly defines humanity when every basic need is stripped away?
These stories, these true accounts pulled from real life, they really remind us just how unsettling and unpredictable our world can be. Danger often lurks, in the most unexpected places at the most unexpected times, and it really doesn't discriminate.
No, it doesn't.
But what also stands out, I think, is the remarkable resilience, the primal instincts shown by those who survived these ordeals.
Definitely. Whether it's that strategic flight, the selfless protection, that furious defense, or just surviving unimaginable historical horrors.
Yeah.
The human spirit in its rawest form, it's truly capable of incredible things.
Yeah.
What's fascinating here, really, is how often the everyday can suddenly turn extraordinary and, well, usually not in a good way in these cases. These stories raise a pretty important question, don't they?
Which is?
How do we navigate a world where true horror can be lurking just out of sight or emerge in the most unexpected places? And what internal resources do we even possess to confront it if it happens?
That's a heavy question. These narratives certainly remind us, maybe, to be aware, to trust our gut instincts, and frankly, to be profoundly grateful for our own safety.
Absolutely. Gratitude is key.
You've heard some incredibly personal stories today, offering, I hope, a unique window into moments of profound fear and survival.
Intense, but important stories to hear.
Indeed. Thank you for joining us for this. Well, for these stories today, we'll be back next time with more to unpack.